In the heart of London, a gruesome discovery shattered the city's sense of safety. A dismembered body, discarded in a quiet park, led investigators down a dark and twisted path, one filled with sadistic desires, deception, and premeditated murder. This is the chilling story of Steve Sansom and Gemma Watts, a couple bound not by love, but by their shared obsession with violence. Together, they lured an unsuspecting woman into their web of horror. Their victim, 38-year-old Sarah Mayhew, a woman searching for companionship, unaware that she was stepping into the hands of monsters. How did an ex-convict, already guilty of one murder, find himself free to kill again? And what drove his partner to not only condone, but actively participate in one of the most gruesome crimes in recent history? Today, we unravel the terrifying details of this case, from the disturbing fantasies that fueled their actions, to the relentless pursuit of justice for Sarah Mayhew. Sarah Mayhew was a 38-year-old mother of two residing in New Addington on the outskirts of Croydon. Known for her kindness and dedication to her children, she sought companionship on dating platforms, hoping to find a meaningful connection. On the evening of March 8, 2024, Sarah met with Steve Sansom, a man she had connected with years prior on a dating site. Surveillance footage captured her entering Sansom's ground-floor flat in Sutton around 11 p.m. She was never seen alive again. Steve Sansom, 45, had a dark past. Stephen Sansom was on life license for a previous offense of murder. On 28 May 1999, then aged 19 years, he was sentenced to detention for life for murder, and 8 years detention concurrent for an offense of robbery. The Secretary of State, as was then the practice, set his minimum term at 14 years. The offense, to which he had pleaded guilty, concerned the murder on 24 December 1998 of a minicab driver. Armed with a kitchen knife, he intended to rob him. Once at his destination, he stabbed him, cut his throat, and stole his wallet, which contained 25 pounds. The fatal wound was to the right side of the neck, 12 centimeters long and deep enough to reach the bone of the cervical spine. There were other wounds to his ear and left shoulder, as well as defensive wounds to his victim's hands. Having left the scene, he returned to the vehicle and cut the cable to the radio microphone to ensure that the dying man could not call for help. He was released on license from that sentence on 18 December 2019, following a decision of the parole board. His partner, Gemma Watts, 49, shared his sadistic tendencies. Together they formed a bond over violent fantasies, leading to the tragic end of Sarah Mayhew. It is unclear if Gemma Watts were aware of the details of his previous offense, but it is clear that she knew Sansom was on license for murder. She knew, therefore, that he had the capacity to kill and to act on the suggestions in the messages which passed between them. WhatsApp messaging between Sansom and Watts indicates that their relationship was characterized by sadomasochistic violence. It is clear from Sansom's previous conviction that he had propensity for violence. However, this was not the first time that Watts had been involved in such violent intimacy encounters. She had engaged in them long before she met Sansom, although she was not the one who mete out violence within them. Video from mobile telephone footage showed Watts being beaten by Sansom with a wooden spoon early in their relationship. She has been seen with bruises following such encounters. On 7 September 2023, Watts sent Sansom a message in which she stated that should any serious injury or death occur whilst she was with Sansom, it should be understood that she entered violent intimacy with him willingly. Sansom sends a voice note saying, "Everything looks like meat now, don't they? A plaything, something to cut, something to bleed, they all look different now." The message suggests Sansom is willing to die together with Watts if the pair were ever caught. September 13, 2023, the couple suggest killing Sansom's friend. They begin playing a game of worthy or not to decide if a victim is worth attacking. Watts suggests beginning with Sansom's little boyfriend, who he admits was starting to grate on me now. They then discuss disposing of the body and killing the cab driver on the journey. Sansom says this wouldn't be the first time, referring to his first murder of Croydon cab driver Terry Boyle on Christmas Eve 1998. September 18, 2023, Watts tells Sansom she wants to kill Sarah Mayhew with a knife. Watts sends Sansom a screenshot of a conversation with Sarah Mayhew discussing when she will pay her back. Watts jibes she won't ever talk to that skank again unless to say R.I.P. Sansom responds with "wow," followed by 3 knife emojis. Watts then says, "Yeah, she's going on my list." The list inferred to people Watts wanted to harm or kill. September 19, 2023, Watts has fantasies about dead babies. A message from Watts to Sansom reads, "Why do I walk round now, looking at people different? Little kids look different. Babies, all people, I see them, and picture how they would look begging for life. Or cute little clothes torn and little's limbs covered in blood, twisted and broken." Watts then said it makes her feel horny, powerful, hungry for it, different to everyone else. November 10, 2023, Sansom and Watts discuss slitting Sarah Mayhew's throat. Watts and Sansom discuss trying to get Sarah to visit the Burnell Road flat. Watts says Sarah won't leave in one piece, to which Sansom agrees. Sansom suggests slitting Sarah's throat over Watts' face. Watts replies, "Have we even got the tools? Want you to cut her throat." A series of messages reveals both intimacy and sadistic motivation in their interest in Sarah Mayhew. Between November 2023 and March 2024, Sansom continues his efforts to get in touch with Sarah Mayhew. This involves sending Facebook and WhatsApp messages. On March 1, he invited Sarah to his home for drugs and intimacy. He says in a message, "I'm having a little party on my own and I'm horny. I've got white but no dark. Call me ASAP." And, "I've got money for dark but I can't get it. Fancy a little party?" Later that evening he presses her again, writing, "Please call. I'll wait until 22 to start my party. After that we both miss out." March 1 to March 8, 2024. Sansom and Sarah Mayhew speak over the phone multiple times. At 8 p.m. on March 8, 2024, Sarah tells a friend Mr. Adams she's going to visit Sansom. 15 minutes later, Watts and Sansom are captured on CCTV entering the flat in 15 Burnell Road, Sutton. The night of March 8 to 9, Sarah Mayhew is murdered. Sarah Mayhew is never seen leaving the flat. It is believed that Sarah Mayhew was attacked with at least one knife in kitchen and lounge area of the flat rather than the bedroom, and that the bathroom was used during the cleanup. Watts would later tell an inmate she was the one to slit Sarah's throat. In a message to Watts, Sansom tries to justify the murder. We're not evil, we done the world a service." March 9, 2024. Sansom seems chirpy after killing Sarah Mayhew. A neighbor says hello to Sansom from his driveway. He later recalled Sansom seemed chirpy. March 10th, Sansom and Watts decides to cut up her body. Shortly after 11 a.m., Sansom bought a 300 mil hacksaw, a 300 mil blade, and 14-liter bucket from a nearby B&Q. Watts was still in Sansom's flat at this time. At 18 minutes past 2 p.m. that afternoon, Watts disposed of something in a bin. This wasn't one directly outside 15 Burnell Road, but instead on nearby Lewis Road. March 11, 2024, Sansom and Watts partly dispose of Sarah Mayhew's body in Rowdown Fields. Sansom and Watts are spotted leaving the Burnell Road address at 20 minutes past 11 a.m. Sansom is carrying a bright blue bag, and Watts, a colored bag. It's unsure whether they disposed some of Sarah's remains on this trip or they were scoping it out. It's believed they were carrying some of her body parts. They took the 154 bus and then the tram to Addington Village, the stop closest to Rowdown Fields. CCTV footage captures the pair struggling to carry the bags. Sarah's head and body parts were later discovered in Rowdown Fields. At 5 minutes past 1 p.m., 25 minutes after getting off the tram, they were seen on CCTV again at Applegarth School, which Sansom attended as a child, moving in the direction away from the deposition site. The pair then took a bus to Watts' home in Holmbury Grove, off Featherbed Lane in Forestdale. At 1:30 p.m. they were seen entering. Watts was still carrying the large blue bag, but neither had the other bag. At 3:30 p.m. they're seen leaving. Watts is still holding the blue bag. 2 hours later, they arrive back at 15 Burnell Road in Sutton. March 11, 2024, Sansom and Watts scatter the rest of her remains in the River Wandle. On 2 occasions the same evening, Sansom and Watts scatter more of Sarah's remains in the River Wandle, near Goat Road, Mitcham Common. They are seen by Carl Johnson, Sansom's acquaintance, who thought Sansom seemed less talkative than normal. Sansom claims he had been walking the dog all day and asks whether there were any other parks around there. Johnson says that the pathway he was facing led to a main road. Watts looked at the ground and kept her hood up whilst the conversation was taking place. Sansom and Watts then walk towards Goat Road and stand at the riverbank for about 10 minutes. Just before 9:30 p.m. they return to Burnell Road. Some 90 minutes later, Sansom, Watts, and the dog are seen on CCTV leaving the flat. This time the suitcase Sansom is dragging appears much heavier, and he also has a white bag. March 12 to 16, 2024. Cleanup operation. On the afternoon of March 12, Watts buys scourer pads, bleach, blue wipes, and washing up liquid from Poundland on Sutton High Street. Sansom went to work on this day in Surbiton, having made arrangements with his boss that morning. On March 14, Sansom and Watts leave Burnell Road and buy a silver incinerator bin from King's Corner store. It's believed the couple spent a few days clearing up the murder scene. March 19, 2024. A mechanic who rented lockups near Sansom's garden notices foul-smelling smoke from the garden, white-colored smoke coming from the area, giving off an unpleasant smell. Watts says to the mechanic, "I'm sorry about this, I won't be long," heading back and forth from the house to put items into the burning metal bin. Watts messages Sansom to mention she had been noticed burning evidence. It's unknown what these items were. In late March to early April, a neighbor notices an acrid smell coming from the corner of the garden. It lasted for about 2 days. March 22 to March 23, 2024, Sansom and Watts go to New Addington again. Sansom uses his phone around Rowdown Fields, but it's not known whether he visits the site of Sarah's remains. Evidence suggests no more remains were scattered on this visit. April 2 to April 3, 2024. Human remains discovered in Rowdown Fields. 3 weeks after Sarah Mayhew went missing, a dog walker finds some of her remains in Rowdown Fields. His dog showed interest in the long grass at the tree line running parallel to Kent Gate Way. The walker walks closer to see what he thinks is a human thigh. He calls the police, who arrive at 15 minutes past 9 a.m. The local leads officers to an area of Rowdown Fields, closer to New Addington Roundabout. One officer notes the bone was cut very cleanly. The walker then tells police he did not see the body part when he last walked through the area on March 31, 2024. At 20 minutes to 10 a.m. the next day, police dogs express interest in a metal sheet about 200 meters from where the thigh was found. Here, Sarah's lower limbs, forearms, and another section of thigh are found, all decomposed. The body parts are found in a black, white, and red fabric laundry bag. Police suspect the initial thigh bone was also ditched under the metal sheet before being moved by an animal of some sort. About 3 hours later, police conduct a wider search. Sarah's head is found in a large overgrown area of thick brambles. On the evening of April 2, 2024, Watts and Sansom find out their burial site of Sarah Mayhew has been discovered. They continue their sadistic behavior, showing no remorse or regret about murdering Sarah. Watts is in Swindon, but writes in a message to Sansom, "Why did it start when I'm so far away from you?" He responds with a voice note, "Baby, the circus is in town. When the circus is in town, there are clowns everywhere, and the party starts." April 4, 2024, forensic experts use dental records and DNA swabs to link the remains to Sarah Mayhew. April 7, 2024, pathology exam reveals the extent of Sarah's injuries. Forensic pathologist Dr. Matthew Sieka finds bruising to the scalp tissues and fractures to the voice box. Ultimately, he can't confirm a cause of death, and no further examination was carried out due to Sansom and Watts' later guilty pleas. Dr. Sieka's most significant findings are dismemberment with separation of the limbs and head, advancing decomposition of remains, bruising to the scalp, bilateral thyroid horn fractures. These fractures are often sustained following prolonged compression, either manually or from ligature. However, the mechanism of compression is complicated by the fact that the overlying skin and muscular tissues were absent. Apparent bruising to the inner aspects of both ankles. No obvious brain injury is identified, but the time taken to find the head affected this examination. Professor Al-Sarraj then examines the brain to find autolysis, but no evidence of contusions, lacerations, subarachnoid hemorrhage, or bleeding. April 5, 2024, Watts suffers facial injuries in Sansom's flat. On the evening of April 5, neighbors hear shouting and loud music from Sansom's flat. They hear one female and two male voices. Just before 10 p.m., Sansom takes a picture on his phone of Watts with facial injuries. These can be seen in her police mugshot. The discovery of Sarah Mayhew's dismembered remains in Rowdown Fields, New Addington, on April 2, 2024, sent shockwaves through the community, prompting an immediate and extensive police investigation. Detectives from the Metropolitan Police's Specialist Crime Command swiftly took charge. Their initial steps involved securing the crime scene and conducting a meticulous search of the surrounding area. Forensic experts were deployed to gather any potential evidence, while officers canvassed the neighborhood, seeking witnesses who might have seen or heard anything unusual. The first significant breakthrough came from a missing persons report filed weeks earlier. Sarah Mayhew, a 38-year-old mother of two from New Addington, had been reported missing by her family after failing to return home on March 8. The proximity of the discovery site to her residence raised immediate concerns. Investigators delved into Sarah's personal life to trace her last known movements. They learned that on the evening of March 8, Sarah had plans to meet with an acquaintance named Steve Sansom, whom she had met years prior on a dating website. Surveillance footage from that night showed Sarah entering Sansom's ground-floor flat in Sutton at approximately 11 p.m. This was the last known sighting of her alive. With this information, Sansom became a person of interest. A background check revealed a disturbing history, which led to intensified scrutiny on him. Confronted with this mounting evidence, police execute a warrant at Sansom's flat, April 6, 2024. He's arrested on suspicion of murder at 15 minutes past 1 a.m. and taken to Lewisham Police Station. Watts had left the flat before police arrived but decided to return to Burnell Road at about 3 a.m. She's frantically sending messages at this point. "What's going on outside?" it reads. She then walks up the driveway and is stopped by police. "Do you live here?" an officer asks. "No, my boyfriend does. It's Steve, he lives in flat 2. Officers then notice her bruised, swollen left eye and cut to her upper forward. "Steve did it. We like to have kinky BDSM intimacy and I like to be punched in the face," she tells police. Later the same day, police arrest Watts at her home in Holmberry Grove, Featherbed Lane, shortly after 3:45 p.m. But police interview Sansom 4 times on April 6 after making the murder arrest. At first he tells police he'd only heard about Sarah Mayhew's murder in the press. He then says he met Sarah on dating website Plenty of Fish, after which they had physical connection once or twice. Sansom continues his attempt to deceive police, claiming he had last seen her 18 months earlier and that during their fling she never went to his home in Sutton. Throughout the same course of interviews, Sansom says he and Gemma are friends, who have physical connection once in a blue moon, the last time being earlier that year. There is a mountain of evidence, but Sansom continues to make his denials. After being arrested, Watts told police she got her head injuries following a row. She also told the custody sergeant that she had bipolar disorder and psychotic episodes and took medication. She was then interviewed twice, on April 7, where she declined to make a comment. But sat alone in her cell at 9:30 a.m., she begins harming herself. "I want my baby boo," she screams, smashing her head against the tiles. Police physically restrain her. She suffered an injury to her temple as blood can be seen dripping down the tiles. Custody Sergeant P.S. Holtham then hears Watts muttering to herself, appearing to speak to someone who's not in the cell. "She deserved it anyway, dirty crackhead," she says. April 8, 2024. Watts speaks to a specialist registrar the same evening after multiple episodes of self-harm. The registrar asks about Watts' suicidal feelings. "I killed someone," Watts says. "Or at least, I watched someone be killed." She then says she hears a voice in her head telling her to do bad things. April 9, 2024. Sansom is charged with the murder of Sarah Mayhew at 1:17 a.m. Watts is charged later the same day. April 18, 2024. Police match blood found in Sansom's flat to Sarah Mayhew. After Sansom's arrest, police begin searching his Sutton flat. Police dogs direct officers towards contents in the Hoover and behind the kitchen and lounge skirting boards. Forensics then blood had seeped behind them. This was later matched to Sarah Mayhew's DNA. Blood stains in the bathroom sink and on the sofa bed were then attributed to Gemma Watts. Meanwhile, during a search in Watts' flat, police find no evidence of a cleanup. They do, however, find her black Samsung phone and more electronic devices, along with black jackets, black boots, a little bag for life, and a pink suitcase. A DNA swab of the little bag matches it to Sansom. May 21, 2024. Contactors find Sarah Mayhew's torso in the River Wandle. On May 20, contractors were working at a lake off the River Wandle near Octavia Close when a worker spotted something 15 to 20 meters from the bank. He believes it's the remains of a rotting dead goose, so continues working. The next day, he was using a machine to remove weeds and dredge sediment. He uses the weed rake to lift the item out of the way, but discovers it's actually the remains of a human torso. Police arrived to retrieve it shortly afterwards. A DNA match on May 24 connects it to Sarah Mayhew. As news of these findings spread, the community was engulfed in a wave of horror and disbelief. The idea that two individuals could conspire so callously to end an innocent life was beyond comprehension for many. The facade of normalcy that Sansom and Watts had maintained shattered, revealing the monstrous reality beneath. The anticipation for the forthcoming trial grew, with the public eager to see justice served. The courtroom was set to become a stage where the full extent of Sansom and Watts' malevolence would be laid bare, offering a grim reminder of the darkness that can reside within human beings. The weight of the evidence was overwhelming, and as the trial approached, the world braced itself to confront the unsettling truths that would soon be revealed. The stage was set for a legal battle that would not only seek justice for Sarah Mayhew, but also force society to reckon with the existence of such unbridled evil. In January 2025, the culmination of a harrowing investigation led Steve Sansom and Gemma Watts to stand before the Old Bailey, facing the gravity of their actions. Both pleaded guilty to the murder of Sarah Mayhew and to perverting the course of justice, a term that scarcely encapsulates the horrors they inflicted. The courtroom bore witness to the meticulous recounting of their crime. It was revealed how, after luring Sarah to Sansom's flat, they brutally ended her life. Their subsequent actions were as calculated as they were grotesque, dismembering her body, distributing the remains across various locations in South London, and undertaking extensive efforts to cleanse the crime scene, all in a bid to obscure their guilt. The presiding judge, Mrs. Justice Cutts, delivered a scathing condemnation of their deeds. She described the murder as the execution of a bloodthirsty and wicked fantasy, highlighting the premeditated and sadistic nature of their actions. The court was presented with a series of depraved messages exchanged between Sansom and Watts, which laid bare their shared desire to kill for intimacy gratification. In light of the overwhelming evidence and the severity of their crimes, the sentences were pronounced. Steve Sansom, already a convicted murderer out on life license, was handed a whole life order, ensuring he will never again taste freedom. Gemma Watts received a life sentence with a minimum term of 30 years, acknowledging her active participation in the heinous act. The impact of their actions rippled far beyond the courtroom. Sarah's family was left in profound grief. Her mother, Angela, expressed the deep void left by her daughter's absence, stating, "It breaks my heart she is not around." Her father, David, while thankful for the guilty pleas that spared the family a prolonged trial, grappled with unanswerable questions, lamenting, "I ask myself the same question all the time. Why did you have to kill her? Maybe I will never know." The meticulous work of the investigative team, from analyzing hours of CCTV footage to conducting detailed forensic examinations, was instrumental in bringing the perpetrators to justice. Their relentless pursuit ensured that the depraved actions of Sansom and Watts did not go unpunished. The investigation into Sarah Mayhew's tragic death was a complex and harrowing journey, but it ultimately led to justice for her and her grieving family. This case also cast a harsh light on systemic failures. Sansom's release on license, despite a prior conviction for murder, prompted intense scrutiny. The Ministry of Justice initiated a review into the circumstances surrounding his release and the adequacy of his supervision thereafter. This introspection aimed to understand how a previously convicted murderer was afforded the opportunity to kill again, and to prevent such a tragedy from recurring. In the aftermath, the community grappled with a complex tapestry of emotions: sorrow for Sarah's untimely death, empathy for her bereaved family, and a simmering anger towards a system that seemingly faltered in its duty to protect. The case of Sarah Mayhew stands as a somber reminder of the depths of human depravity and the imperative for vigilance within our justice system. The tragic murder of Sarah Mayhew serves as a grim reminder of the darkness that can reside within individuals: a mother, a daughter, and a friend. Her life was stolen by those who reveled in cruelty. While justice has been served, no sentence, no courtroom verdict can undo the pain inflicted upon her family, nor can it erase the horror that gripped an entire community. This case raises difficult but necessary questions about the systems designed to protect society. How did a man convicted of a brutal murder in 1998, sentenced to life, find himself free to kill again? What safeguards failed, and how can we ensure that no other family endures the agony that Sarah's loved ones now carry? We must remain vigilant. We must demand robust systems that prevent such tragedies. If you or someone you know is in danger, do not stay silent. Reach out to local authorities, support organizations, or crisis helplines. Awareness and action can mean the difference between life and death. As we reflect on this harrowing tale, we are left with a haunting question: how well do we truly know those we let into our lives? If you found this story compelling and want to see more in-depth true crime documentaries, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell so you never miss an update. Your support helps us continue bringing you the most detailed and well-researched true crime cases. Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. What do you think about this case? Could the justice system have done more? We'd love to hear from you. Thanks for watching, and stay safe out there.